What's up, everyone? So I'm starting. Here's my two-door Dodge Raider, which is the same thing as a Montero, like that one over there. I'm going to be making a video of a full engine, basically reseal and like maintenance job. So I'm going to be doing everything from basically everything's getting torn down, all new gaskets. Basically everything besides the heads are coming off. So it's going to be like all the little inlet gaskets, manifold gaskets, valve covers, timing stuff, water pump. Going to take the radiator out and probably send the injectors out to get cleaned or something. But this thing runs mint, just past emissions, almost perfect numbers, but it does have some oil leaks. It's an old engine, so gonna get everything looking nice, and just gonna start the video here. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so first step that I always like to do when I work on these Monteros is step one. I always disconnect the battery. So just take the negative off and the positive, and then you don't have to, but I like to take the battery out. Just gives me a little more room in here. Then I unplug the mass airflow sensor and I unbolt the whole intake. You don't have to do that, but I always like to take out more than I need to because it gives you more room and it just makes it easier in the end. So just unbolt this. There's a bolt right there. And then you could take this all stuff out. You gotta take that out too. Then you take the tube off. There's a hose right there that connects to the valve cover. And then take the clamp off, so take that off. Then what I do is, drain all the, if you're gonna do water pump and timing belt and stuff, you wanna drain the cooling system. I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna do it in a second. So drain that, and then take this upper radiator hose off. Take the top fan shroud piece off. Really easy. You just bolt on the side right there, bolt right there. Same thing on this side. Bolt right there to the radiator and the little nut right there. So take that off. And then I don't remember. There's a certain order you got to do it. I don't remember if the lower shroud will come off yet. If not, take the fan off. I always just undo these 4 bolts right there to the pulley. So take the fan out, take this top piece off, this, and then try to get the lower shroud piece off. It just bolts on the little bolt right there. Take this. You don't have to take the lower clamp off for the lower hose. Just take the upper clamp off and take that off, and then you can lift the whole radiator out with this hose still on. Don't even have to bother. Radiator bolts on with 4 bolts. There's 2 on each side. I'm trying to show you guys. See, there's one right there, and then same thing on the other side. And like I said, if you take this intake off, it gives you more room to get those bolts, but you don't even need to take the intake off, but I like to do it. So after that, after you get the radiator out, I'm gonna move on to just start taking this stuff off, but I'm going to get this stuff out first and then I'll continue the video. Okay, so I got the intake off, radiator and shrouds off, and you don't have to take the radiator out. Like, you could do the timing belt and everything with it in, but it just makes it a whole lot easier because there's way more room now. So that's all out. Also, you might want to wrap the little hood latch with like a towel so you don't stab your head. So now what I'm going to do is start taking all this stuff off. So I loosen this pulley, I loosen that pulley, loosen that. That's the tensioner for this pulley. So this car had AC added later on. So if you have AC, your setup might be a little different. Like, this is not a factory AC unit, so I'm not sure exactly if it's gonna be the same as you. I actually don't even really know how to take this off. It's different than my other Gen 1. I suppose I'm just gonna take these bolts off and see if the compressor can loosen, or I'll take this off. Can't really tell though. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna actually take this tensioner off right there and loosen that. And then after that, I'll loosen the power steering pump right here on the side, so I could get that belt off, and then I'll take the alternator belt off, and then after that I'll start taking like the alternator off, which is right there, and then probably just like this thing with the coil on it, and then I'll start the video again. All right, so the AC compressor's out, or not out, but disconnected from the AC bracket. So this definitely, I don't know, maybe it is OEM, but this is a Dodge Raider, and my '89 Montero, the OEM AC is different. So like for the OEM Montero, there's 4 bolts and they come in from the side, but this one had 4 bolts and they're like horizontal like this. So I'm pretty sure this is aftermarket AC, but either way, this AC compressor was a pain in the ass. So I don't think this applies to all Monteros or Dodge Raiders, but so you take that off, and then there's this little AC bracket right here. You just take off, basically what you're gonna do is just take off all the bolts for the AC bracket. So there's that bolt right there I'm gonna take out, and then on the side there is, it's hard to see, but I'm trying to get the camera down there. It's very hard to see. There's that bolt down there. You can kind of see it right there in the corner hiding. And then there's 2 hidden bolts back there you could see. Sorry that the camera's sideways, but there's 2 bolts back there. One of them has actually a ground to it, so you have to be mindful that when you put this AC and stuff all back, you have to put that ground back. Sometimes people forget that. And that just bolts to the little fender well right there. So take the AC bracket off. And what I'm gonna do next is loosen the power steering. On my last time I did a timing belt, I completely unbolted it and just let it hang to the side. But I'm gonna see if I could try to just leave it in on this one. If not, then I'll just end up completely unbolting it, and I'll just like hang the thing off to the side right here. But I'm pretty sure I could leave it, but I think I'm actually just gonna end up taking it off because I want to really clean everything. When I get this thing back together, I want it to be like near perfect, so I'm probably gonna move that off to the side just so I could clean it. I gotta get this belt off, the power steering belt off first before I could take this belt off. Then after that, this stuff up top. Okay, so before I take the power steering pump off, I thought I'd actually show you guys this because it might be helpful. So to get it loosened to where you could get the belt off, see how it's loose? There's 2 bolts, and they're inside these holes. So say this hole is not lined up with the bolt over here, you're gonna grab a big breaker bar or something, and you're gonna put it on the crank right there, and you're gonna just turn it a normal, like the normal way the engine turns. I mean, you probably might be fine doing another way, but just turn it normally until these line up. So just turn the crank, it's a 22 millimeter. Turn it until these holes are lined up with the bolts right there for the tension. So I did that, I loosened the bolts, so now you could move the pump and it loosens tension. So that's to loosen tension. And then to take the whole pump off, you want to get those 2. There's also that bolt right there. You're gonna do that one. And then there's also that bolt right in the back. You can kind of see it. It's right there. There's only one. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and actually take the whole power steering pump off just so I could clean it real good and clean everything around it. So that's how to take the power steering off. All right, power steering's off. So just gotta get that front bolt, you get the back bolt, and the little bolts, and then I just set it to the side here because I gotta clean everything later. And a tip also is put the bolts back where they came out of so you don't lose them. So like just thread them in lightly. That's how you don't lose stuff. So now let's get to the alternator stuff. To get the alternator out, you're gonna first go for, this is not exact, but what I do. So there's a little weird bracket on the side. You're gonna unbolt the top bolt right there that holds the alternator. I always undo the bottom one too and just take the whole bracket off. So after that, you're gonna want to, I think you could leave the shield on. You can leave the shield on. Don't forget to unplug that back plug. Undo that right there. There's a little plug under this cover. Undo that bolt or nut. And then you're gonna want to undo that bolt right there that holds the alternator. So just look at the parts and see what's holding them. So undo that. You're gonna want to undo this back nut right there, which is held right there, that holds the alternator. And that should be the alternator off. After that, I'm gonna work my way to this coil in the power unit. So get a little flathead screwdriver, be very careful. You don't wanna break any clips in here. Like, these are really old engines, so clips are brittle. So carefully get that clip out, just pry it up. Unplug the coil, unplug the wire to the distributor. Check and see if there's a little wire holder. Get that off, get the wires off of that. Then you're gonna move to the back. There's something for the tack back here. Unplug these little connectors for this. That's for the tachometer. So then just make sure, just double check all the wires are disconnected off the parts. Then undo that top bolt right there and these back bolts right there. And that'll be this part off. So then at that point, the alternator and this will be off, and then after that we'll continue. We'll work down here and I'll get this piece off, and then maybe the fan piece off. Okay, so at this point I got the front the fan bracket off, I got the pulley bracket off, the alternator out, and the part that has the coil and the power unit off. So those big parts just bolt to the block basically, and there's like a little weird bracket there, there's like a weird thing on the side. So next we're gonna pop the timing covers off, and since I'm doing a timing belt, I'm going to line it up on, I'm gonna line up all the timing marks, because you have to take these covers off to see the belt. And then I'm gonna mark the distributor with a paint pen, so when I go to install it later, I could get it perfectly installed. And then I'll show you guys this stuff. So to get the fan bracket pulley thingy off, it's gonna be a 17mm on that bottom lower one, and the rest are 14s. So that'll pop off, and then to get this off, it's just those on the bottom, that one, that weird one on the side, and then that one over there. And I'm gonna do the timing marks now. All right, so I got the timing covers off on the top, spun it over, got it all lined up. The marks were good. I just used some paint pen too to mark them. You can kind of see. Then I popped off the distributor cap, just so I could see exactly where it's at, just to make it easier. So that's where mine was sitting. This is with all the timing marks aligned. It's a little bit off to the left, and then I marked it with the pen right there. I marked the cap with the pen. I also marked that down there with the pen, but that probably doesn't matter because I'll probably reset timing once I get it all back together. Now I think I'm just gonna pop the intake off, and then, or just do this, doesn't really matter at this point. Just start taking more stuff off. Okay, so this is how far I am right now. Got the AC bracket off and all that. Now I'm gonna take the intake off. So what I'm gonna do first is take the, I might leave it on actually. I think I'm actually gonna take the throttle body off, or not, I might leave it on. But if I were to take the throttle body off, you just undo this, undo the coolant hoses. There's two coolant hoses right there. Undo the clip, the vacuum lines, and then to do the intake manifold, there's a bolt right in the front right there. There's one right there, one right there. There's one under that, and then there's some in the back. There's like one there, and then I think there's one way back there. You're gonna want to undo the oil cap. There's two bolts right there, and you're gonna come around here, take this bracket off that connects to the like the head down there. You're gonna want to undo the EGR pipe. There's also going to be a kind of hard to get bracket back there. Probably gonna have to use a wrench or something to get that one. And undo the throttle body cable. And that's pretty much all you need to get the intake off. I'll show you guys once I get it off, all the bolts and stuff. Alright, so I'm in the process of taking the intake and stuff off. I decided to take the throttle body off first. So when you take the throttle body off, there's a bunch of hoses back here that you're gonna want to make sure go back in the right spot. So it goes throttle body, then it goes like the little heater block right there, and then this hose runs around and goes to the throttle body right there. Then this bottom hose on the heater block runs down behind the head, and then there's this hose that goes to the throttle body, which goes to that little piece back there you can kind of see. Now I'm gonna take this little heater block off, I think. Actually, no, I'm gonna leave the heater block on. I'm just gonna pry it off, and I'm gonna set it to the side because I'm gonna get those hoses off in a second. And like now you get really good access to the harness. So like you got the fuel injectors down there. I got the front bracket off. Now I'm gonna do the back bracket and start unbolting the intake, and it'll just pop off. I got the top bolts on the EGR taken off, and I'll get back to you guys in a second. Okay, so before I fully take the intake off, I'll just give you guys a quick overview how to take it off. So starting from the front, there you gotta take the PCV hose off. Then there's a little nut right there, and there's bolt, bolt, bolt. Take the throttle body cable off. And then you're gonna come back here. There's a bolt down there. There's a bolt right there. And then way in the back, there's one more of these nuts. So that's all the like mounting things off. You're gonna take the bolts holding the oil thing off. Come around, there's gonna be a bracket in the front. Take that off. Take either just the top two EGR bolts off, or you could just take the whole thing off. And then there's gonna be a weird bracket back here that's holding the intake. Take those two bolts off, and that's basically it. And then you could just pop the whole intake off. You might need to use a rubber mallet to, sometimes when these are bolted down to the lower inlet manifold, the gasket like makes it really hard to get off. So you might, if it's stuck, like this one is not stuck, so if yours is stuck, you might need to pop it with the little rubber mallet lightly. Alright, so intake is off and distributor is out. To take the distributor, I always just line it up top dead center, timing marks, and then I mark it in a bunch of spots with marker, and then you just undo that bolt. And I always put towels there. Even though that's going to come off for now, I'll just put towels. So now I'm going to take the injectors out. Just undo the mounting bolts, and I'm going to leave the connectors on and just take it all out as one, because you could take the whole like harness out with it. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'll undo the connectors once they're out, because I don't want to break them. And then after that, I guess I will pop I'll pop that off down there, the crank pulley, and take this front timing cover off. And then I think I'll take that bracket off for the power steering, clean it. And then after that, I guess I'll take this off, and I'll get to you guys once I get that all done. Alright, intake's off, fuel injectors are out, the inlet manifold's out. So basically all you do to get the injectors out is unbolt them and then pull them up. And then to get the inlet, there's 8 nuts. And then you gotta also undo one of the heater core hoses. Now I'm going to, so I got the front timing cover off and the crank pulley off. I'm gonna just undo the timing stuff. I'm gonna start by just undoing this spring and then the tensioner, and then just slip the belt off. And then I'm gonna take the water pump off, and I'm gonna go from there. And then I'll take that big metal mount off, and I'll just keep chugging along. Maybe I'm replacing that pipe that's in the valley, so I'm gonna take that out, and I'll let you guys know. Alright, so I had to take a couple days off because I had school and stuff, but back working on it. Gonna put it back together today. So it's all tore down, everything's cleaned, blah blah blah. What else did I do? All the seals are out. I gotta put all the oil seals. So I think first thing I'm gonna do is I'm trying to think. I think I could do the timing belt first, maybe. I'm trying to think what order I want to go in. Maybe I'll put the valve covers on first. Actually, no. I think I'm gonna put the front seals on and the timing stuff, and then I'm gonna do maybe that pipe that goes down the valley, and then after that, I'll probably do this inlet manifold, which I just prepped the surface with some Scotch-Brite. Got it nice and smooth. You want it to be a really nice, smooth surface. Then after that, probably the valve covers, but I'll get to you guys right now. Okay, so before I throw all these bags away and stuff, I'm gonna put the timing stuff on. So I don't even care if it's reusable. I always buy this stuff just brand new. And then I just keep the old stuff as a spare. So I bought basically everything new timing stuff. So here's a little sprocket flange that goes on the crank pulley and the crank gear. There's the part number. Here's the crank seal part number from Mitsubishi. Here's the cam seals, crank bolt washer, crank bolt, crank sprocket, and then I even went and got a brand new OEM pulley. There you go. I'm gonna throw this stuff on real quick and show you guys later. Okay, so before I put it in, I'm gonna show you guys how I put the seals in real quick. So I'm gonna start by doing this cam seal right there. So all I use is a big, gigantic 36mm socket, which is actually the socket for Gen 3 Montero axle nuts. But so what you're gonna look for is something big like this, circular, a small hammer, and a small little flat, whatever this is called. So you get some oil, you put it around the oil seal. You're gonna slip it on there very lightly, tap it perfectly straight in. And then this to kind of get it perfect, and that's really it. You don't want to destroy the seal, so you're just barely going to tap it. And also make sure when you put the seal on that this little lip right here, there's a little spring, doesn't get folded over. So I use a little mirror to check it from behind. I'll show you guys once I get in, because you want to put the seals in only flush with this, so I'll show you guys after. Alright, so seals in. That's all you do is you get perfectly flat, flush with the head, and that's it. And then just repeat that for the crank and the other side. Okay, I'm gonna put this part on next. This is the part where the distributor goes in. So it's this little piece that unbolts from the head, and there's a little O-ring back there. That's the O-ring part number. So basically you just put the O-ring on there. Oops. You slip this over like this. It goes in like that, and then you put the cam seal in that, and then the distributor goes in that. So alright, that's it for that. Alright, all the seals are in. So I'm just going to show you guys something real quick, the timing mark on the crank gear. So all those seals, you're going to get that seal in. Here's a new crank gear. It only goes on one way because there's a little key right there. So it goes in. You could kind of see there's a little indent right there. There's only one indent right there, and there's the timing mark on the oil pump. So you gotta line that up. You can see mine is like barely off. So when I get the crank pulley on there, I'm gonna turn it a little bit to get it even, but once I do the timing belt and stuff, I'll obviously get it perfect, but it's a little tiny bit off right there, you can see. So you gotta line those up perfectly and then put the cam gears on. Alright, so I've just been prepping the water pump surface. I got a new pipe for the valley. I'm gonna show you guys some other stuff real quick. So here's the pipe that goes in the valley. I don't want to scratch it. So you're gonna want to get yourself an ASIN water pump. That's basically the best pump you can get for any Montero. Here's the part number. It's the OEM pump. Comes with the gasket for the water pump, the little metal pipe that connects to the top of the water pump, and it comes with the O-ring that goes on this pipe, which, by the way, here's the part number. I'm gonna put this pipe in first, and then I guess I'll do the water pump and stuff. Alright, so now that I got the timing stuff put together, I guess I'll start doing the intake and stuff. Timing belts lined up currently on all the timing marks, so when I put the distributor in, it's all the same. I'm gonna probably put the injectors in right now, and all the heater core lines are connected and stuff. I did them pretty tight. I might have done them too tight, but we'll find out, I guess. I don't know how tight to do those, but as long as they don't leak, I guess.